Justice Watchers, before we begin, I want to make this absolutely clear. The following broadcast contains public domain courtroom footage, commentary, and legal analysis. This content is presented under the Fair Use Doctrine as defined by 17 U.S.C. 107 and is protected by multiple Supreme Court rulings, which you see below. This stream is transformative, educational, and journalistic in nature. It includes original commentary, trial breakdowns, legal interpretation, and critical analysis, not raw redistribution. We do not claim ownership over any public domain footage, and all use is strictly within legal bounds. If you're watching this content, you're engaging in a protected, transformative experience, grounded in law, never in speculation. And if anyone has a problem with that, take it up with Campbell, Brady, Miranda, and Irvin. Remember, guys, justice always works better when we watch. So keep watching. See you in the courtroom.
In Fort Myers, Lehigh Acres, Cape Coral, Naples, North Fort Myers, and then you'll also hear that he did a search for a place called Ochopee, just kind of in the Everglades, a very rural, marshy area. but ultimately he finds a place in Clewiston. Clewiston, members of the jury, is in Glades County. You're going to hear that Clewiston is kind of like old Florida. There's briars, there's bushes, there's palm trees. It is overgrown, and there's not a lot out there, especially in the area where he ends up renting a place, Montura. Montura is acre and a half lots. Some of them have a house on them, most of them don't. When you walk through them, you get cut up. The briars get you, the sticks, whatever it may be. It is rural Florida. But before he does that, what you are going to hear is that on the 20th, he also calls Discover Credit Card Company, which is a company that Barry has a credit card from. You'll actually see a photo of the credit card. It's a Blackhawks NHL credit card, Barry being from Chicago. And he'll use that credit card at Starbucks, which was Barry and Chris's normal place to stop. And you'll hear from one of the employees say that when she asked where Barry was, Chris's response was, working. Then you'll see Chris go to Lowe's and buy a hand truck, which is a dolly basically, to move heavy items, fridges, boxes, whatever heavy items you have. Then he goes to Target. He uses the victim's Discover card again. Barry is still nowhere in sight, and he tries to withdraw money from an ATM. And then you'll end the day with a phone call from PNC Bank. It is one of the banking institutions that Barry uses. And members of the jury, listen carefully during that phone call. That phone call is not made by Barry, it's made by the defendant. Listen how, when the woman that is working for the bank asks him for his social security number, he waits. "11 seconds before he's able to give her his social security number. When asked what his mother's maiden name is, he gives the first name a couple times. Pauses, kind of makes small talk before giving the name again, as well as his phone number. You're going to hear from two different witnesses, Miguel as well as Kim, who are going to tell you, that's not Barry's voice, that's the defendant. That is the defendant's voice on that call. Nowhere in that call is Barry's voice. You're going to hear about July 21st in the wee hours, about 4 a.m., from one of the other neighbors, who hears what sounds like something moving on a heavy tarp. You're going to hear that he looked outside, saw movement, saw somebody dragging something, and then he's going to say that it matched Christopher, the defendant, his gait, the way he acts, the way he moves. You're going to hear that light bulbs were unscrewed, and those light bulbs that turn the lights off, they matched Christopher's fingerprints. You're also going to hear about black tubs that the defendant was carrying back up to the condo. And these tubs are important because when we go to Montura's Airbnb, those tubs are also found. You're going to hear about the defendant then going to put gas in Barry's Jeep, buying air fresheners in Walmart, and then driving to an Airbnb in Montura. Again, this is Clewiston. And he rents that Airbnb under the name Tyler Gamble. Not his name, under somebody else's name. And you're going to notice and see that the Jeep he is driving all the way to Montura is on what is known as LPRs, which are license plate readers. And the detective is going to explain to you that a license plate reader is going to take a picture of the license plate as well as the vehicle. And you'll see the vehicle is spotless on the outside. What you'll notice, though, is the next day, the vehicle now has dirt and mud all over it after being in Montura Ranches. Now that Airbnb, how I described Montura, it's just like that. Wooded, overgrown areas, needle in the haystack. That's where he rented an Airbnb. An hour and a half away from Cape Coral. Well, he gets to Clewiston, and he goes to Ace Hardware. He goes to a bank, gets money from an ATM using Barry's information again. When he goes to the Ace Hardware, he buys a pickaxe and a shovel. Then, his phone doesn't have any data usage for 3 hours. From approximately 12 p.m. until 3 p.m., there are no text messagings, phone calls, searches, nothing from the defendant after buying a pickaxe and a shovel. You're going to hear that when his phone stopped having communication with it, he was at the Airbnb. But 3 hours later, he's about 10 minutes away when it comes back on. 3 hours that are unaccounted for. The Airbnb host is actually going to testify that she saw clothing hanging off the banisters at the Airbnb, which she thought was weird because he only rented it for one night. That's not normal. But you'll hear a lot of not normal about that Airbnb. You're also going to hear that the defendant's cell phone goes quiet again from 6 p.m. on the 21st until 11 a.m. on the 22nd. There are searches, but there's not phone calls, and they're very few and far between, those searches. While Christopher is in Clewiston himself, Miguel and his partner Tom, they go and check on Barry because they've been calling, they haven't heard from him. They have a key to the house, so they go in. There's packages outside, they bring the packages in, and what do they see? The inside of Barry's condo is a mess. That's not how Barry would have kept it. And then you'll hear about the 22nd. The Airbnb host that rented a place to Tyler Gamble sees the defendant running and knows that this is the defendant because he's oversharing with her. He's telling her, oh, I'm going for a run, and then I'm going to check out, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And you are going to hear from her as she tells you what he told her. And that Tyler Gamble in the photo is not Tyler Gamble. It's the defendant, Christopher Davis. Now that Airbnb, she's going to tell you that when she went into it to clean it, because her and her mom own it together and they clean it before they rent it out to the next person, they notice things that don't make sense. There's a ton of debris inside. There's sand everywhere. There's areas that are matted down. Furniture has been moved around. Stuff that's not normal for her normal people to come visit for a night, especially somebody that's there by themselves. As the defendant is driving back to Cape Coral, Miguel will tell you that he urged the defendant to file a missing persons report and ended up filing a report himself. But what does the defendant do before filing a missing persons report? He goes to the Ace Hardware in Cape Coral. You'll see the video of the defendant doing this, driving Barry's Jeep right up to a dumpster, pulling out a pickaxe and a shovel and throwing them away. Within 24 hours of buying a pickaxe and a shovel, the defendant threw them away. He then calls law enforcement, tells them Barry's missing, and he's kind of worried about him. You'll hear that you hear the 911 call that he made, where he's oversharing and telling the dispatcher all sorts of information that seems like it's too much. It's weird. And then you'll also actually see the body-worn cam with the officer that talks to the defendant that day. You'll hear that later that night, Becky Weber, who's one of the neighbors, she'll testify that Chris was worried. He said things like, I'm worried, I think Barry is going to leave me and kick me out, and asked Becky to come help him look for Barry's phone. When she looks for Barry's phone, she goes into the apartment, or condo I should say, and she sees a wallet. And it's Barry's wallet she sees. She knows it's Barry's wallet because, again, Barry's very meticulous. He has everything in a certain spot in his wallet. Every card is a certain way. The way he is everything is perfect. Now, after the 22nd, when the defendant is finally reported missing, when the victim is finally reported missing by the defendant had called him a few times since then, off and on. But after he's reported missing, there's not a single phone call that the defendant makes to Barry's phone. Then you'll hear about July 23rd, where the defendant starts looking up history on the web for how to reset a Century Safe code, how to find a Century Safe factory code and reset the combo. Searches where to buy that exact same safe. This is a safe that Barry had in his condo. The exact same safe in his condo is what the defendant is looking to buy and looking to crack open. Now, the fingerprints of the defendant are actually found when law enforcement goes on the back panel of the safe that Barry has. The only way that you're going to hear to do that is to actually take off the front of code key panel. And that's what the defendant did. You're going to watch a video of the defendant pushing a safe out of Home Depot. He's also going to be having a swing bar guard lock, which is, when you go to a hotel, you have those locks that kind of go over and clasp, so if somebody tries to come in, it'll block them. You're also going to hear that he bought basically a new lock for a door. Well, if Barry's missing, wouldn't Barry need to get back into the condo? After he buys this, he buys it with the Discover card of Barry's, not his own. And he calls the number for Century Safe. You'll hear back on the 24th that the defendant goes to Starbucks. And while at Starbucks, he talks to Cindy Thomas again. But this time, Barry's missing and it must be a hate crime. He's only been missing for a day or two. Well, we're on the 24th. A day or two is when he filed the missing persons report. But again, nobody has heard or seen from Barry since the 19th. You're going to hear that after he goes to Starbucks, the defendant calls a place called Anna Teresa Aesthetic Medicine. And he makes an appointment. He makes an appointment to get fillers in his face. He gets Sculptra, which builds over time, which is a type of filler, as well as a filler for his lips. Now, what's interesting about that is that on middle of May, he makes his initial consult with them. He puts his address as the address with Barry, as well as he does not put Barry's name on his emergency contact, but he puts the address. But 2 days after he reports his boyfriend missing, he makes an appointment for cosmetic fillers. And guess how he pays for those fillers? With Barry's credit card. Over $1,400 in fillers. You're also going to hear that the detectives do a search warrant. They do a search warrant on the defendant's phone. They do a search warrant on the house. They do the search warrant on the defendant. They do a search warrant on anything. And what do they find? Well, what they don't find is a body, but they do find that he has scratches all over his body in the stages of healing. Kind of similar to if you're walking around the woods in Montura. You're also going to hear that when they ask him about the scratches, he says, I was trying to put a harness on my cat. That's where the scratches are from. You're going to see pictures of the Jeep with cleaning supplies in it. Air fresheners. Air fresheners he bought a couple days before at Walmart. You'll see the video of that too. You're also going to see and hear from friends and family, such as Barry's close friend, Leo Gianchetti, who also is the victim's power of attorney, and will tell you the last time Barry used his card is when Chris was using it. And Barry's not one to give a credit card out. Barry would sometimes give cash, but never a credit card. And you'll hear that over and over again from all of his friends and family. You're going to hear the detective state that he spoke to the defendant, and the defendant said when he got home from cruisers, he went straight to sleep, and when he woke up at 4 a.m., Barry was gone. Well, that's weird because we see him multiple times. We see him on a video in Walmart. We see him making or hear him making phone calls. You're going to hear multiple discrepancies in the defendant's story of what happened to Barry. You're also going to hear that on July 28th, Barry's wallet was found. The same wallet Kim saw when she went to go help the defendant a few days earlier. And where it's found is a storm drain. A storm drain that is on the walking path for Barry and Chris. It has a bunch of Barry's credit cards in it, but not all of them. Because most of the other credit cards, when they did a search warrant of Chris in the condo, those credit cards were in Chris's wallet. Barry Schmalbach, Barry Schmalbach, Barry Schmalbach, over and over again. Not a single credit card in that wallet had Chris's name on it. They were all Barry's. Also inside that wallet was his identification card, Barry's. Inside that safe is his passport. Barry didn't leave, members of the jury. And that's what the state will prove to you today. You're not going to hear from a medical examiner. You're not going to hear a body. See a body, excuse me. What you are going to see and hear is the defendant buying duct tape, a tarp, air fresheners, pickaxe and shovels, renting an Airbnb in a rural, remote area, and the defendant's own conflicting statements. Using the victim's credit cards for his own will, as well as all the actions he took up until the point that the search warrants were served. At the end of the trial, the state will come back to you and ask for the only just verdict in this case, a verdict of guilt for the crimes of second-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and 8 counts of fraudulent use or possession of personal identifying information of a deceased person. Thank you.
All right. Vince?
Thank you. May it please the court, counsel. Thank you for your time and attention thus far. I ask that you accept the opening statement kind of like a preview. You catch on TV before you go see a movie. Not to be silly, but just an idea. It's an opening statement of what we believe the evidence will show. But what you hear from witnesses and receive in the form of exhibits are the actual evidence. So it's to kind of give you an idea of what's to come. And we believe the evidence will show that there was a Cinco de Mayo party at some friends of Barry, and Chris knew from another fellow he knew, and they got together, and that's where maybe Chris and Barry first met and got in contact. And you'll hear at that time the severe heart issues Barry was having, and the medical issues, and then soon after Chris moves in to the apartment. And you'll hear it was very common because Barry was so concerned about his heart issues and medical situation that they got up like super early, 4 or 5 in the morning, and went out walking from all the way, if you see a map, you'll see like Beach Parkway, all the way down to where the Starbucks is, and just multiple miles. And you'll hear later about going to this cruisers bar where they hung out, and you'll hear walking home from there, so these long distance walks were not uncommon. And it was Barry trying to get his health back in order, and that they walked home that evening. And as said, you'll see videos showing them kind of walking up Del Prado, going back. And then you'll hear before that, when they were at cruisers, that there wasn't any big scene or anything. They just kind of left. Like they were there for a few hours. And then there's a couple different parties there. The bartender, they kind of knew, and different people that knew Barry, knew Chris. And may have left a little bit different time, but you'll see them on video right next to each other, walking up Del Prado. And getting home. And then you'll hear later from a neighbor that heard some kind of noises. And was it Barry saying, "I'm leaving, I'm tired of this idiot"? And Chris saying, no, don't leave. And Barry leaving because he was still getting on these grinder apps and some other app called Sniffies to still meet other men and date. Because Chris wasn't somebody he had known for years or anything. He had met at the party, and then he pretty quickly moved in, and he was kind of helping take care of him. You'll hear he wasn't working. Barry gave him some cards, said feel free to use them. If anybody asks, Barry said you can use it. And so the use of the cards he was allowed to do. And then you'll hear about Airbnbs. You'll even hear before this night of cruisers, they'd gone to one of their friends, Miguel. He's in a relationship with Tom, and Tom's birthday, and they rented an Airbnb to have the party at. And then you'll hear about Chris, and we believe the evidence will show that at some point an Airbnb was rented and it wasn't in the best condition, and Chris lost his account. So then he started using his brother Tyler's account. And so when he rented the Airbnb to leave Barry's place and say, well, I guess we're breaking up or this is over, maybe I should go elsewhere, that this account was used, but nobody's trying to hide anything about who's there. He was in constant contact with the lady when he went out to Lewiston. She saw him. He was out exercising. There's nothing nefarious going on. Then you'll hear when Chris and Miguel talk, and the idea about reporting Barry missing comes up, and then that's done, and you'll hear that. And then you'll just hear a lot of speculation as to things after the fact. And so what I ask you to do is wait before you make any formulated or fixed opinions until you've heard everything in this case. And not try to take everything days after the fact to speculate, what may or may not have happened. But you will, for a fact, hear about very serious heart issues, and you heard about his weight loss, and you'll hear that from his friends and family. And at the end of this trial, we'll come up and ask you, we'll argue to you that the evidence has not proven that any murder was committed, and there's no proof beyond a reasonable doubt. We'll ask you to find the defendant not guilty.
State and call their first witness.
Yes, Judge. State calls Mr. Miguel Blanco.
All right, sir. If you'll just face the clerk, raise your right hand, she'll swear you in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
All right, you take this. Watch your step. You may proceed.
Thank you. Sir, would you please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury by telling them your name?
Yes. Miguel Blanco
Now, Mr. Blanco, where do you reside?
at 131 Southeast 44th Street, Cape Coral, Florida 33904.
And who listened to you?
My husband,
And who is Sean Rippertron?
my roommate,
And the other gentleman?
my roommate,
And what kind of residence is it that you reside in?
a single family home.
And did you know a gentleman by the name of Barry Schmalbach?
Yes.
How did you know a gentleman by the name of Barry Schmalbach?
He was my friend, and we originally met at Restaurant Depot where we worked together.
How long ago was that?
That was about 13 years.
So you know Mr. Schmalbach for 13 years?
Yes, sir.
Where did you first meet?
At the Chicago office at Jetro Cash and Carry Restaurant Depot.
And what exactly is the Restaurant Depot?
It's a wholesale for like where other restaurants shop at for their food and supplies.
And over that course of time of 13 years, how did you come to know Mr. Schmalbach as far as how close you became?
So I worked in the equipment and supply department, and he was the head buyer for that department. He was the VP and buying.
And over the course of those 13 years, did you become friends?
Yes.
And by becoming friends, did you ultimately wind up doing things together outside of work?
Yes.
Such as what?
We would go to the restaurants to eat, to the beach, and hang out at our house.
And did there come a point in time when you moved down to Florida?
Yes, I moved down to Florida in 2013 in Tampa. Yeah.
And were you with Mr. Wilson at that point in time?
No, we were together a year later.
So you met Mr. Wilson in 2014, if my math is correct?
Yes, sir.
And that would have been up in Tampa.
Yes, sir.
And where was Mr. Schmalbach residing at that time?
He was in Chicago. Yes.
And as a VP, what were his primary duties and obligations there?
So as a VP, he was in charge of the buying department for all the paper goods and also all the equipment and supply.
And did there come a point in time when you moved down to Cape Coral?
Yes, in 2017.
Did there come a point in time when Mr. Schmalbach ultimately came down to Cape Coral?
Yes. I don't recall what the date was, but
Would it have been after Hurricane Ian?
yes.
Would that have been in 2022?
Wait, no, after, it was before Hurricane Ian, because he helped me for Hurricane Ian. Yeah.
And what was he doing at the time, work-wise?
Work-wise, he started his own business and like selling paper supplies like he did for Restaurant Depot.
And when did he break out on his own, if you remember?
I don't recall when.
Was it shortly before he came down here to Cape Coral?
Yes, when he was actually living in Naples when he started the business.
And so you're saying he moved down from Chicago all the way down to Naples?
Yes.
Okay. And where was he residing in Naples and with whom?
Vanderbilt, he used to live off of Vanderbilt, and he lived by himself in a condo.
And what was the reason for him moving down to Florida?
He wanted to be, so he used to live in Florida before, and he wanted to be back down here. And then since me and Tom were down here, he felt more comfortable coming to this area.
And were you the only two people that he knew and that he was friends with down here?
Yes.
So based upon that, he was in communications with you about, doing extracurricular activities such as going out and going to dinner and that sort of thing. Is that right?
Yes.
When did he move from Naples to Cape Coral?
And I want to say it was in 2021, because I helped him look for the condo that he moved into on Beach Parkway.
And is that the beach condo, or the condo on Beach Parkway at 1835?
Yes, sir.
And was the unit 303?
Yes, sir.
Can you describe that condo for us?
So the condo was on the 3rd floor. It was, when you go up the steps, it was like an end unit on the outer side of the condo. And it had like the white doors and the yellow tinted glass.
Judge, let the record reflect, I'm showing defense counsel was previously marked as States Exhibit 1, 1A, and 1B,
Okay.
as well as States Exhibit number 2 and States Exhibit number 39. May I approach, Judge?
You may.
Blanco, Hanny was previously marked as States Exhibit number 1. Do you recognize that?
Yes, very
And how do
small.
you recognize that?
That's my friend, very small back.
Does that photograph fairly and accurately depict Mr. Schmalbach?
Yes.
Judge, the state was, States Exhibit number 1 in evidence of
Any objection?
No.
Be admitted.
Now, may I also approach the case exhibit number 39? Do you recognize that?
Yep.
How do you recognize that?
That's his condo unit that he lived in.
And does that photograph fairly and accurately depict the condo unit that Mr. Schmalbach lived in back in 2023?
Yes, sir.
Statement moves case exhibit number 39 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
Be admitted.
Now, Mr. Blanco, in taking a look at this particular photograph, can you tell us, do you see where Mr. Schmalbach's condo would have been?
Yes, the top unit, right there at the end to the left.
Is this the one we're referring to right here where I'm pointing?
Yes, sir.
Directly in the middle of the photograph for the record?
Yes, sir.
And when he moved into that particular condo, was he residing by himself?
Yes, sir.
How did you communicate with Mr. Schmalbach?
Via text or phone calls.
And would he communicate with you on a daily basis?
Yes.
And when he called or texted with you, let's go with regards to texting you. How quickly would he respond to your texts?
Usually right away.
So he wouldn't leave you hanging for, I don't know, a year?
No.
And you've talked to Mr. Schmalbach on numerous occasions?
Yes.
So you'd be able to recognize his voice if you heard it?
Yes.
Now, do you also know a gentleman by the name of Mr. Christopher Davis?
Yes, sir.
How do you know Mr. Christopher Davis?
I met him through Barry. He came to a party that I had, a Cinco de Mayo party 3 years ago.
And who invited Mr. Davis to this particular Cinco de Mayo party?
My roommate, Sean Rippetroff,
And where was this Cinco de Mayo party held?
at my house at 131 Southeast 44th Street.
Is that house also an Airbnb?
No.
And was Mr. Schmalbach also at the Cinco de Mayo party?
Yes.
Did you see Mr. Schmalbach and Mr. Davis conversing with
Yes.
each other?
Yes.
And did they seem to be getting along?
Yes.
And ultimately, how did Mr. Davis ultimately ask to have Mr. Schmalbach's phone number?
Yes.
Did Mr. Davis seem to be interested in Mr. Schmalbach?
Yes.
And how was Mr. Davis interested in Mr. Schmalbach?
He had asked if he could, through my roommate, if he could have his phone number.
Hold on 1 second.
No objection hearsay if it's
Steve.
through someone else.
Effect on listener, Judge. First, why he did what he did.
I'll sustain at this point.
Was Mr. Davis ultimately seeking Mr. Schmalbach's phone number?
Yes.
And did he seek that number by and through your husband?
Yes.
Now, after he obtained Mr. Schmalbach's phone number, did you ultimately learn of Mr. Davis and Mr. Schmalbach residing together?
Yes.
And when did Mr. Davis, if you recall, shortly after this Cinco de Mayo party, begin to reside with Mr. Schmalbach?
Within a few weeks.
Now, you indicated to us earlier that you knew Mr. Schmalbach fairly well. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Are you aware of Mr. Schmalbach's medical conditions?
Yes.
And how did you become aware of those?
He had an issue once, and I had to take him to the hospital, and because he had called me to come get him, so I had to take him to the hospital. And after that, he gave me keys to the home just in case anything ever happened to him.
And when you knew Mr. Schmalbach back in May and ultimately June and July of 2023,
Yes.
was he in the process of losing weight?
Yes.
Why?
He would walk 5 miles. He would go down Del Prado and Cape Coral Parkway and walk just to try to lose weight. And he also had a trainer that he would go to at the gym to work out with.
So he became very health conscious.
Yes.
Was this after you had taken him to the hospital,
Yes.
or was it also before that?
It was more after I took him to the hospital.
And as a result of having had this health scare, he became a little bit more health conscious and decided to take more walks and
Yes.
lose weight. Is that what you're telling us?
Every morning, yes.
Okay. Now, are you familiar with whether or not Barry Schmalbach also wore an eye watch?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about when he began wearing these eye watches?
Towards trying to get healthy so he can keep track of like his fitness and his fitness challenge.
And did he wear this watch on a regular basis?
Yes.
Did there come also a point in time while he was staying there at his condo and things like that, that you would join him at his condo?
Can you repeat that question? Yeah.
Was there a point in time over the course of you knowing Mr. Schmalbach that you went to spend time with him at his condo in his community there?
Yes.
And was there also a point in time when you spent time with Mr. Schmalbach and Mr. Davis down in the pool area and in the condo area?
No, not at the pool area.
Was there ultimately a time when you and Mr. Schmalbach and Mr. Davis had been in the pool together?
Yes.
Okay. And where was that?
That was at an Airbnb that one of my friends got for my husband's birthday, and we had a birthday party there, and we spent time in the pool together and hung out.
Where and when in relationship to the Cinco de Mayo party did that occur?
So that was July. My husband's birthday is July 9th, but we didn't do it exactly on July 9th. I think it was a few days after his birthday we did it.
And may I approach, Judge?
Yes.
Sir, I'm showing you what's previously marked State's Exhibit number 1A
Yes.
and 1B. You recognize 1A and 1B?
Yes, sir.
And how do you recognize those?
Right here is Christopher Davis and Barry Schmalbach with me, and then there's Barry Schmalbach with some friends.
And these photographs fairly inaccurately depict you along with Mr. Davis in State's Exhibit number 1A, and this is State's 1B, Mr. Schmalbach and some friends. Is that correct? Judge, state with me State's Exhibit number 1A and 1B in evidence at this time.
Any objection? Be admitted?
Commissioner Clement, Judge?
Yes.
So, as we're looking at this particular photograph, we've got you and Mr. Davis and Mr. Schmalbach in this photograph in the pool. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
What is that is on his left arm, Mr. Schmalbach's?
His iWatch.
So he even wore that watch in the pool.
Yes.
And State's Exhibit number 1B, is that Mr. Schmalbach and some friends?
Yes.
And once again, is that one of the same iWatch that he wore in the pool with you on his left arm?
Yes.
Are you familiar with how Mr. Schmalbach got around town?
Yes.
How did Mr. Schmalbach get around town?
If he wasn't exercising and walking around, he would get around in his Jeep.
And what color Jeep did he have?
Gray.
May I approach?
May I?
First reflect, I'm showing you some previously marked as State's Exhibit number 2. Recognize that?
That's his Jeep.
Fairly inaccurately depict his Jeep back in July of 2023.
Yes.
Legislative move states exhibit number 2 in evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
Be admitted.
Permission to publish it?
You may.
So, Mr. Blanco, as we're looking at this particular photograph, the vehicle on the right, is that the Jeep that you were referring to?
Yes, sir.
And that Jeep is one and the same Jeep that Mr. Schmalbach owned and drove around town. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
How did you keep that Jeep?
Very clean. Like
And-
inside and outside, he would clean it all the time.
What do you mean he cleaned it all the time?
Like he would wash his Jeep and make sure he vacuumed it and cleaned it, and he was like very pristine about taking care of his Jeep and his home.
Was he also very meticulous about how he kept his clothes?
Yes.
Was he also very meticulous about how he kept his apartment?
Yes.
When you say, and we described his peculiarity regarding meticulousness, how would you describe his apartment?
Like I could eat off the floor, how clean it was.
Now, Mr. Blanco, let me direct your attention specifically to the 19th of July of 2023. Did you have occasion to go to a restaurant bar known as Cruisers that night?
So Barry called me that he texted me that day to go join him for drag queen bingo, him and Christopher, and I told him I couldn't because I had a dinner plan.
So you were not able to go out to Cruisers that night?
No, sir.
Ultimately, did you go to your dinner plans?
Yes.
Did you receive a call or text from Mr. Schmalbach that evening?
I received the call during the dinner, and I didn't answer it, and he left a voicemail.
Judge, let the record reflect, I'm showing defense counsel with completion of case exhibit number 9. May I approach, Judge?
You may.
Mr. Blanco, I'm showing you some previously marked as case exhibit number 9. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I listened to that.
Okay. And is that the recording of the voicemail that he left on your phone back on July 19th of 2023?
Yes, sir.
And you recognize the voice on that?
Yes, sir.
And whose voice is on that?
Very small bags.
Judge, state move states exhibit number 9 in evidence at this time.
Any objection?
Object to the hearsay.
Goes to the effect on listener, Judge. Not only that, it also goes to his identification of the voice of Mr. Schmalbach. It's not being out for the truth of the matter.
Overrule on the objection.
Permission to publish, Judge?
You may.
CDF, hey, it's me. Give me a call. I need your help. I need to get rid of this fucking idiot because I can't take it anymore.
Now, Mr. Blanco, when you heard that voicemail, you didn't catch that voicemail until the next day, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, the person that you previously saw in the photograph and identified as Mr. Christopher Davis, do you see Mr. Davis here in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
Please point him out and describe an article of clothing that he's wearing.
He's wearing a white button-up shirt, black slacks, and black shoes.
Judge, let the record reflect the witnesses identify the defendant.
Okay.
Now, let the record reflect I'm also showing defense counsel some proofs and marked states exhibit number 6, 7, 8, 11, 11A, 13, 16, 19, 21, 24, 30, 31A, 34, 37, 38, 41, 43, 44, 45, and 45A. Judge, I'd show him previously.
I'll just make sure the clerk has the numbers.
Yeah, Coach?
Can you want to bring those to her? Just make sure she's got the numbers, correct? Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you. You may approach.
Mr. Blanco, I'm going to use some proofs and marked as, just give me a moment. State's exhibit number 6. Please take that stack of this for us, please. State's exhibit number 6. Do you recognize that as the surveillance video of budget blinds?
Yes, sir.
You remember having reviewed that?
Yes, sir.
And did you see anyone in that particular video that you recognized?
Yep.
And who did you recognize?
Christopher Davis and Barry Schmalbach.
Directing your attention to State's exhibit number 7. That's the surveillance video of Monarchas. Did you recognize anyone in that particular video?
Yes, Christopher Davis and Barry Schmalbach.
And I'm also directing your attention to State's exhibit number 8. That is the surveillance video at Greco Jewelers. Did you have an opportunity to review that video as well?
Yes, sir.
Did you recognize anyone in that video?
Christopher Davis and Barry Schmalbach.
Now, with regards to State's exhibit number 11, I believe that's the surveillance video from Walmart.
Yes, Christopher Davis.
Okay, and you saw Mr. Davis in that video as well?
Yes, sir.
And I believe we have also 11A, if I remember correctly?
Yes, at the register.
And that was, did you also see anyone in that video?
Yeah, Christopher Davis.
Now, directing your attention to State's exhibit number 13. Is that the video of Valley's Airbnb?
Yes.
And did you recognize anyone after having reviewed that particular video? Did you recognize anyone in that video?
Christopher Davis.
State's exhibit number 16. It would have been the surveillance video there at Lowe's. Did you recognize anyone in that video?
Christopher Davis.
And directing your attention to State's exhibit number 19. I believe that's a surveillance video from Target. Did you recognize anyone in that video?
Christopher Davis.
State's exhibit number 21. Is that the surveillance video from Publix? Did you have an opportunity to review that video?
Christopher Davis.
Christopher Davis was located in that video as well?
Yes, sir.
Now, directing your attention to State's exhibit number 30. I believe that would have been the surveillance video from Walmart. Did you have an opportunity to review that video?
Yes, Christopher Davis.
And you saw Mr. Davis in that video as well?
Yes.
And I believe the next two that you have in your possession there are State's exhibit number 31A. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And is that the surveillance video there at Walmart again?
Yes, sir.
And did you recognize anyone in that video?
Christopher Davis.
And you also should have Stacy exhibit number 34 in front of you. And the surveillance video from Seacoast Bank. Did you review that video?
Yes, sir.
And did you recognize anyone in that video?
Christopher Davis.
And you should also have before you Stacy exhibit number 38 and 38A.
37.
37?
Synetics.
Yep. Am I correct?
Yep.
37. Is that the surveillance video there from Ace Hardware
Yes, sir.
in Clewiston? And did you recognize anyone in that video?
Christopher Davis.
Now, do you have 38?
38, yes.
Okay. And is that the surveillance video there at Walmart in Clewiston?
Yes.
And did you recognize anyone there in that video?
Christopher Davis.
And is the next video that you have, is that 38A or is that 41?
41.
41, is that the surveillance video there at Ace Hardware in Cape Coral?
Yes.
And did you recognize anyone in that video?
Christopher Davis.
The next video that you should have before you, sir, is Stacy exhibit number 45 and 45A.
No, this one's 43.
43?
Yes.
You may.
Yeah.
Correction, Stacy exhibit number 45 and 45A.
45 and 45A. Yes.
And are those the surveillance videos there from Home Depot?
Yes.
And did you have an opportunity to review those videos?
Yes, sir.
And who did you recognize in those videos?
Christopher Davis. And I got one more.
Which one's in there?
24.
Now, after you heard that, that voicemail, did that voicemail concern you?
Yes.
And after you heard that voicemail and you expressed concern, who did you voice that concern to?
Tom, my husband.
I have no further questions for this witness at this time.
All right.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And so Barry first came and he was in Naples. And then, you wanted to move closer to, were you and Tom were, or just out of Naples? Or-
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then you helped him move into that condo?
Yes, sir.
So you kind of, he didn't buy it for himself, like he rented it from the owner that owned that condo?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And so you saw it that first day when it was like first furnished?
Yes.
Okay, and then from that first day until, I guess, at a later time in July, when you're trying to find where Barry is, you come over with Tom and you enter the condo with keys you have?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so between those two times, when did you come over there?
Between,
When you first moved in there, and then the time when you went there and with Tom and put the packages inside in July?
I went quite a
Objection
few.
beyond scope.
Overruled.
I went quite a few times, but mainly before he met Christopher. Like, as soon as he met Christopher, we didn't go there that often.
Okay. You didn't, after Chris moved in, you didn't go there and see the condo?
No.
Okay, so at that point, with two people living there, you didn't know the condition, I guess it was kept in daily. You know what it looked like before that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and then the heart issue, what month was that about?
I don't recall when exactly.
Not exactly, was it a couple months before July 2023, or how?
Probably
how far?
like 6 to 8 months before that.
Okay. And then you were at your house, or where were you at before you took him to the hospital?
I was at my job.
Okay, and then he was concerned to the point, I guess, of wanting to go to the hospital, like right away.
Yes.
Kind of scared because of the heart issues?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then did you stay there at the hospital with him? And,
Yes.
okay. And then you noticed, like, pretty soon after that, this whole health kick started, as far as walking all the miles?
Walking and exercising.
Then were you aware of medication he was having to take?
I don't know what medication he was taking, but I know they had put him on the medication.
Were you aware of like, needles or shots he had to give himself?
No.
And would your primary communication with Barry be mostly texting?
Texting and calling, both.
And sometimes with the texting, would it be like group texts?
No, he would do that with his family. With me, he would just text one-on-one.
Okay. But if you are like having a party, that's kind of what I meant to.
I would just contact him directly, yeah.
All right, and then we heard about the Cinco de Mayo party. Chris was there, Barry was there,
Yes.
and that's how you believe they may have met for the first time?
Yep, the Cinco de Mayo party.
Okay. And then after that, when is Tom's birthday? When is that?
July 9th is Tom's birthday.
Okay, so that's a month and a half, 2 months after the Cinco de Mayo party?
Yes, sir.
And then that's, how come you guys rent an Airbnb for the party instead of just your house again?
So my best friend did it as a surprise to Tom, like, because we had friends come from Tampa, and they stayed there too. And
It'd be harder to surprise them at your own place?
yes, sir.
Okay. And those pictures, that was from like that party?
That was from that party,
Okay.
Tom's birthday party.
All right, and was the party Cinco de Mayo, is that the first time you saw Christopher Davis?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then the next time you saw him, would that have been at Tom's birthday party?
No, we saw each other at Cruisers.
Okay. And how many times at Cruiser did you go?
One time at Cruisers.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is that before the birthday party?
before the birthday party.
All right, so Cinco de Mayo, one time at Cruisers, then Tom's birthday, and then maybe when you went over to the apartment later in July, concerned about Barry's whereabouts?
Yeah.
And so your identification on all the videos we just heard about, like Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, it is based on seeing him the 3 times?
I've seen him more than 3 times, but I don't know exactly when the other times were.
Okay. You
Yeah.
mentioned the Cinco de Mayo party, Cruisers one time.
Cruisers.
What is Cruisers?
Cruisers is a gay bar in Cape Coral.
Okay.
Yep.
And you saw him there the one time?
Yep. And then there was another time we had dinner. I don't remember what restaurant we went to.
So a couple of times you saw
Yeah.
him?
Yes.
You're making the identification on those videos based on a couple of times?
Yep.
And the surveillance videos that are on, I guess showing Del Prado Parkway, you remember watching those?
Yes.
And you agree with me, the people on there are like super tiny?
It wasn't that tiny. I could see like Barry's physique and the way he walked, and
So you
I could see Christopher.
You weren't able to see like people's faces and say, yeah, that's Barry and Chris. You were looking at how they walked.
And they're like, I could see the side of them.
Okay. Some of them are almost like black and whitish. Or is it nighttime, so it's kind of like, it's not a full color like you'd see watching a TV show.
Yep.
And so you were making the identification based on how Barry walked, I guess?
Barry walking, like I could see the side of him.
And then identifying Mr. Davis, again, that was based on those couple times you mentioned seeing him?
Yes.
Okay. Have just a moment. As far as like the relationship that started with Chris and Barry, was that something Barry kept you up to date on, or you just kind of saw it from afar?
He would tell us, he would tell me about it.
Okay, were you aware if he was still on Grindr, like trying to meet other men?
No. Christopher told me that, but Barry never told me that.
Okay. Then you got that message, you were out at dinner? So the voicemail came, you were at dinner, but you didn't get it till the next day?
Yes, sir.
How come you didn't listen to it that night? You just,
Because the dinner was pretty late. We had dinner, had dessert, and we spent time talking. And then it was like late by the time I left, and I just headed home and I went to bed.
you just didn't check your phone, and then the next day you noticed it?
Yep.
All right. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else from the state?
Not from this witness at this time, Judge.
Okay, you may step down, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, you may call our next witness.
Yes, Judge, today we call Miss Ruth Ciotti.
All right, if you'll just face the clerk, raise your hand, she'll swear you in.
Do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
You can take the stand. Watch your step. You may proceed.
Thank you. And would you please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury by telling them your name?
My name is Ruth Ciotti.
And Ms. Ciotti, where do you reside? Come to know a gentleman by the name of Barry Schmalbach.
Yes.
And how did you come to know Mr. Schmalbach?
Well, we would go to the pool in the afternoons and go to the beach, and just knew him from being around my complex.
Well, how would you describe your complex? Relatively close, tight-knit?
It's very close. The people are very close. It's 16 units, and you know, there's some snowbirds there. Permanently, there's about 11 units filled, and so we all usually go to the pool in the afternoon.
Okay. And how'd you go about doing that?
Just meet down there. You're there, you're there. If you're not, it's not a big deal.
Was there a specifically designated time and place?
No, no.
Just went down there and that's where everyone congregated? Mm-hmm. All right, is that a yes?
Yes.
All right. And how long did you know Mr. Schmalbach?
From the time, well, about 2 weeks after he moved in, I had met him. So that was in October, and then until he passed.
October of what year, ma'am, if you recall?
October what?
Of what year, ma'am?
I think 22.
Okay. And did he reside there by himself?
Yes. Well, in the beginning, yes.
Did there come a point in time when he did not live there by himself?
Yes.
When was that?
Around May, the end of May, I would say 23.
And where in relationship to Mr. Schmalbach did you reside?
Well, the building is two addresses, 1835 and 1837, one long lot. And I live on the left lot, or the left end of the building, and Barry lived on the right side of the building.
So if I can direct your attention specifically to State's Exhibit number 39, which has been previously admitted into evidence. Do you recognize that building, ma'am?
Yes,
Okay. And you previously learned that Mr. Schmalbach resided up in this particular condo right up here in the middle of the photograph.
correct.
Where in relationship to that particular building did you live?
Okay, if you were to move the picture to the right further down the screen, so say that truck that's parked there. I lived right past that truck.
So to the right of it? Mm-hmm. Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right, very well.
Oh, sorry.
No problem. And in that particular condo complex, is it fair to say that everyone kind of knew each other?
Oh, yes.
And you said that you always used to go to the pool. Mm-hmm. Is that a yes?
Yes, it is. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
And was there, when you all got together, was there sometimes a group chat,
Oh,
text messages?
yeah, definitely. Yes, there was.
Okay. And when there was a group chat, as far as text messaging goes, about getting people together, was there anyone in particular that used to respond fairly quickly?
Barry right away, what should I bring? And all of us, usually within an hour or so, we'd all respond as to whether we were coming or not coming or what to bring.
And it was a fairly regular occurrence for you all to meet together, is that right?
Yes.
Now, did you see Mr. Barry Schmalbach on the 19th of July of 2023?
Can you tell me what day that was?
That would have been Wednesday, July 19th, 2023.
Yes, I did.
Okay. And was he with anyone?
Chris.
And when you say Chris, are you referring to Mr. Christopher Davis?
Yes.
And do you see Mr. Davis here in the courtroom today?
Yes.
And would you please point him out and describe an article of clothing that he is wearing?
Well, he's wearing a white shirt. Sitting over there at the end of the table.
Judge, let the record reflect this witness has also identified Mr. Davis.
All right.
Now, Ms. Ciotti, you indicated that Mr. Schmalbach was with Mr. Davis at that time.
Yes.
What exactly were they doing and what were they wearing?
They were in their bathing suits. They were at the pool. I had not been at the pool when they were that day. But I was in my kitchen. And they were walking by my kitchen window.
And where did they appear to be going?
Back towards their condo.
Now, did Mr. Schmalbach normally stay at the pool very long?
In the afternoon, not real long. No, usually about an hour, maybe a little bit more.
And when you saw Mr. Davis and Mr. Schmalbach going by your condo and heading back to his condo, what were you doing there in your kitchen?
Cooking dinner.
Okay. And at your condo complex there, do you also have what's called assigned parking?
Yes.
Okay. And are you aware of whether or not Mr. Schmalbach had an assigned parking spot?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And what kind of vehicle did he drive, if you're aware?
It was an SUV, colored like brown maybe. I think maybe a Jeep, but I'm not sure, but it's an SUV.
Okay. And did you see anyone else drive that car besides Mr. Schmalbach?
Never.
Now, since July 19th of 2023, have you heard from Mr. Schmalbach?
Oh, no.
Have you seen Mr. Schmalbach since
No.
July 19th of 2023? Have you had any contact with Mr. Schmalbach whatsoever since July 19th of 2023?
I have not.
Thank you. No further questions at this time, Judge.
All right. That's
Just briefly. The pool, was it during the weekdays when a lot of you gather there, or is it more on the weekends?
Oh, weekdays and weekends.
Okay, so was it kind of like a gossip factory sometimes?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, especially about like when Chris came to live there and moved in with Barry and that relationship?
You know, I never recalled ever talking about Chris coming to live there and it being gossip. It didn't happen. I think everybody respected Barry for choices.
And y'all actually went to the beach one time together and then came back, and then Barry and Chris were supposed to go to Key West for a trip.
Yes.
Remember that? All right. And after Chris moved in, you never saw him driving the Jeep around?
No.
All right, thank you.
all right. You redirect.
No questions, Judge, thank you.
All right, you may step down. Is she released?
Yes, Judge, thank you.
All right, any objection to her being released? All right, ma'am, you're released from your subpoena.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is everybody in the jury okay? Okay, you may call your next witness.
Yes, Judge, they would like to call Mr. Ryan Sensenig.
Sir, if you'll just face the clerk, raise your right hand, she'll swear you in.
You solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes. You can take the stand. You may proceed.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. Would you please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury by telling them your name?
Ryan David Sensenig,
And sir, what do you do for work?
self-employed, independent contracting, but one of the jobs I do is driving for Uber and Lyft.
Can you please describe for us what Uber and Lyft are?
So it's basically like a modern version of a taxi service where people can order a ride using their phone or computer. Most people have the app on their phone if they need a ride, for various reasons.
And how does that work?
As far as the customer goes, or for me?
Both.
So for the customer, they would go on their phone, they would go into the app or the website and order a ride from the pickup location to a drop-off location, and it'll tell them how much the ride will cost. Then once they order that ride, it will go out to a nearby driver, and the driver will have the option to either accept or reject the ride based on how much they're getting paid and the length of the ride.
Now, were you working on July 19th of 2023?
Yes.
And were you requested to go to a location of 1835 Beach Parkway?
Yes.
And why did you go there?
It's where the ride was designated to be picked up from, according to the Lyft app.
And did you pick anyone up at that location?
Yes, picked up 2 gentlemen.
And was one of the names Barry Schmalbach?
Yes, that's accurate.
And was he with someone?
Yeah, there was a second gentleman in the car. Yep.
Do you remember what they were wearing?
Not specifically, just general casual attire that you'd wear in Florida in the summertime. Shorts or very light clothing. I'm sure it was very hot given it was July.
Where did you take them?
To a nearby restaurant and bar called Cruisers in Cape Coral.
About how long a trip would that be?
I believe it was about 3 minutes.
And did anything unusual occur over the course of that trip?
Not at all. No, it was a very routine trip from my memory. Just a pickup, a hello, a drop off, and a goodbye, and nothing more.
And obviously you just dropped them off?
Correct.
And after you dropped them off, what did you do?
I waited till I got my next ride and then, proceeded and worked for several hours after that, if my recollection serves me.
And did everything you just testified occur here in Lee County?
Yeah, in Cape Coral, yep.
I have no further questions for this witness.
All right.
Sir, when you mentioned the name Barry, it's not that you knew that person, is that just the name that was on the Uber account?
It was the Lyft, yeah, it was a Lyft account, and they only give first names, and the first name for that ride was Barry, correct?
Okay.
Yep.
So out of the 2 gentlemen, did you have a picture from the account, and then that's who you saw? Or?
Correct. There's a profile picture attached to the account on Lyft to help you identify who you're picking up for safety for both the driver and the passenger.
What's the average day? Do you usually work a certain number of hours?
It depends on the day. The weekends I usually work more because it's busier. So on the weekends I might do like a 6-hour shift driving, whereas on the weekdays I might only do like 2 to 4 hours.
So I just wondered is there an average? You come into contact with 5 to 30 people, or it varies? Or
It varies by the day. Obviously, like I said, the weekends are the busiest, Friday and Saturdays. Like I know, for instance, this past weekend I did probably about 12 rides in 4 hours on Friday. That's pretty standard.
And then this ride to Cruisers we talked about before, that wasn't like frequent customers you had taken there before?
No, I don't believe I had ever picked up Barry before, to my recollection. I may have, but I don't recall that I did for sure.
All right. Thank you.
Any regret?
Nothing further, Judge.
You may step down. Is this witness excused in their speaking?
Yes, Judge.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, sir, you're excused.
Thank you.
Your Honor, the next witness will be Bryce Bearman. I would assume he might be the last witness for the day. He should take probably between both parties no more than an hour.
Okay. Well, we can stop if we need to, and if anybody needs a break, then we can do that too. So you can call your next witness.
The state will call Bryce Bearman.
And ladies and gentlemen of the jury, typically what we try and do is end around 5 o'clock and start around 9 o'clock in the morning. You can adjust things as needed, but I'll make sure we're on track and adjust things from there if needed. All right, good afternoon. If you'll just face the clerk, raise your right hand, she'll swear you in.
Do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
You can take the stand.
Would you please state your name
Bryce Bearman.
and how are you currently employed?
I am a PE teacher and the head football coach at Oasis Charter High School in Cape Coral.
Prior to being the PE teacher and football coach for Oasis, where were you employed?
Cape Coral Police Department.
How long were you at the Cape Coral Police Department?
Almost 22 years.
And what positions did you hold while at Cape Coral Police Department?
I was a road officer, school resource officer, a detective, in several different units.
What sort of training experience do you have to be a law enforcement officer?
Went through the academy here, which is about, at the time, I want to say almost 700 hours worth of training there, and then training throughout my career.
And how did you end your career? In what position?
I was a detective with the Violent Crimes Unit.
Did you become involved with a case with the suspect of Christopher Davis?
Yes, I did.
Would you please tell the jury how you became involved with that case?
It was, actually, I got called by my supervisor late July 23rd, late at night, early morning, July 24th, and said that there was a case that she wanted me to take a look at when I got into work on Monday morning.
And did you end up coming into contact through this investigation through an individual by the name of Christopher Davis?
Yes, I did.
Do you see that person in court today?
Yes, I do.
Would you please point to him and identify him by an article of clothing?
White shirt at the table.
Your Honor, may the record reflect that the witnesses identified the defendant?
Yes.
So what type of case were you called out for? Was it a homicide, missing person?
It was a missing person case individually, initially, excuse me. My supervisor was out on a different call that night on another case and wanted me to take a look at it, said something didn't seem right. So I went in and looked at it that morning.
Missing persons case, how do you go about reviewing or investigating one of those?
You try and find out the last time they were seen and then put together a timeline.
And is that the same with a homicide investigation as well?
Yes.
So with this particular case, it turned in from a missing person to a homicide. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Did you do a timeline too?
Yes, I did.
And how were you able to make this timeline?
Based on collecting evidence, compiling videos, text messages, cell phone records, and just kind of putting everything together like a puzzle.
One of the things you take into consideration would be witnesses. as well.
Absolutely.
So to break it down for the jury, what was the first day of the puzzle?
July 19th.
Why is that the first day?
That was the last time that we can confirm that Barry Schmalbach was seen.
Can you walk the jury through the first event that you took on July 19th?
For that day, we were able to do some interviews with some witnesses, collect some videos, phone records, cell phone searches, stuff like that.
Okay, so for step one, where did you start? What was the place that you started your investigation? Would it be where he lived?
Yeah, yes.
And do you remember the address?
1835 Beach Parkway, apartment 303, Cape Coral, Florida.
Is that located in Lee County, Florida?
Yes, it is.
And when you got there, you were able to talk to neighbors?
Yes.
One of the neighbors being Ruth Ciacchetti?
Yes.
And from speaking to Ruth, what was your next step?
We were able to determine that Barry and Chris had gone to Cruisers.
What is Cruisers?
It's a bar.
And where is Cruisers located?
It is in the 1500 block of Southeast 47th Terrace in Cape Coral, Florida.
Are you aware of how far Cruisers is away from Barry's condo?
It's probably a 3-4 minute drive tops.
Could you walk it?
Yes, absolutely.
And based on your investigation, were you able to actually prove that Barry was there that day?
Yes.
Do you know who he was there with?
Christopher Davis.
And did you discover if anything happened while at Cruisers?
They were there at the bar. They were drinking. They had conversations with the bartender and another friend.
Hold on a second.
Objection hearsay.
Your Honor, we're not going into the content, we're going into the course of investigation.
As long as you're not going to the content of the conversations. I'll sustain it as conversations, but otherwise you may proceed.
So you were able to speak with witnesses to what occurred while at Cruisers?
Yes.
And based on your investigation, were you able to piece together a timeline with regards to any sort of digital footprint?
We were able to determine that they left somewhere in the neighborhood at 8 o'clock, based on the receipt.
Do you know if Barry reached out to anyone while he was at the bar?
Yes,
And who did he reach out to?
a friend of his in Chicago.
And would that friend be a Rosalie Felico?
Yes.
And how did he reach out? Was it a phone call? Text
It was
message?
a text message to a response that she had sent.
And were you able to confirm that he was the one that actually sent that text message?
It would have been at the time, he would have been at the bar, yes, so at the time.
And did you end up getting a copy of that text message from Mr.
Yes, I did.
Felico? Were you able to show that they ended up paying for any sort of receipt?
Yes,
And were you able to track down the manner of which was the item was paid for?
it was paid with an American Express card.
Your Honor, may the record reflect I am now showing opposing counsel. Was previously marked for identification purposes as state's proposed Exhibit 3.
Okay.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
I'm now showing you it's marked for identification purposes as state's proposed Exhibit 3. Do you recognize that document?
Yes,
And is that the American Express statement with regards to the particular card that was used at Cruisers?
yes,
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move into evidence state's proposed Exhibit 3.
Any objection? Be admitted.
With regards to state's proposed Exhibit 3, just so we're aware, it's kind of like a statement printout. Would that be the best way to
Yes.
describe it?
yes.
Could you kind of walk us through what each page is?
The first one is,
It's easier, I apologize.
no problem.
Okay, so. Is there any way to dim the lights just a smidge? Okay, perfect. So this would be page 1 of State's Exhibit 3 as they've been moved into evidence. What exactly are we looking at?
That's the name on the card holder's name.
Okay, so this would say that Barry Schmalbach is the owner of that card?
Correct.
And we see a date here that says date of birth. So that would be when Barry was born?
Yes,
And we also see a government ID number. That's a social security number?
I believe so, yes. I mean, I'd have to confirm it off his driver's license, but yes.
Okay, and then we see 2 different addresses, both of them being the same. That is the actual address that's associated with the card, correct?
Correct.
And then, back to page 2, 1 second. There's a multitude of other pages. So we have a page 3, a page 2. Page 3, we actually see 3 different entries. It says cruisers and cruisers. And if we go back to page 2, it gives us a date. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And with regards to cruisers, we see that there was a payment on the 19th to cruisers from Barry's credit card.
Correct.
And you were able to confirm that Barry's the one that signed at cruisers?
Yes, we were actually able to get a copy of the signed receipt.
Thank you. If you can turn the mic on, I appreciate it. And were you able to ascertain how they got back from cruisers?
They walked.
So they didn't take an Uber back?
They did not.
Completely plausible that you can walk that distance.
Yes.
And how were you able to find out that they walked?
We canvassed that entire area from cruisers all the way back to the residence for video cameras. And was
Canvas.
yes.
I know that's a law enforcement name.
It's,
Can you explain to the jury?
well,
what
we
that
would
means?
go up, walk into a business. Do you guys have security cameras? If you do, can we take a look at this time and date? And we were able to put together at least 3 locations where they were on scene walking that evening.
And you actually were able to collect those videos?
Yes, we were.
Was one video from Budget Blinds?
Yes.
One video from Monarchas?
Yes.
And one video from Greco Jewelers?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, may the record reflect, I apologize, may I approach the witness? I believe
You may.
there's some CDs up there.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
I'm gonna take them all. May the record reflect that I'm now showing opposing counsel what's been previously marked for identification purposes, state 6, 7, and 8.
Okay.
May I approach the witness again?
You may.
I'm now showing you for identification purposes what's been marked as state's proposed exhibits 6, 7, and 8. Do you recognize those?
Yeah, they appear to be videos from Budget Blinds, Monarchas, and Grecos.
And Your Honor, at this time, the state would move into evidence states exhibits 6, 7, and 8.
Any objections?
No.
All right, be admitted.
Your Honor, permission to publish states exhibit 6.
Okay.
And Your Honor, for the record, it will be publishing 6, 7, and 8 with brief questioning between. Now, states exhibit 6, this is going to be our Budget Blinds video. Where should the jury be looking with regard to this particular video?
Honestly, I would have to see it to figure out. It's going to be somewhere around the 4600 block of Del Prado Boulevard South, which is just a little bit to the north of Cape Coral Parkway.
So this would be kind of like the first stop to get back to the condo.
Yes.
We're going to pause it for a sec. Where on this video will you end up seeing these individuals walking?
On the sidewalk.
Would you play? You could stop it for a moment. And we stopped it at 2019-41. So you said the sidewalk. You're talking about the sidewalk right here?
Yes.
Okay. And we see an individual in a lighter blue shirt and then a darker shirt. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Were you able to ascertain who each person was?
I will object to the identification by the officer unless he has personal knowledge he can base it on.
Your Honor, I can rephrase the question instead of
All right.
communication. Based on your investigation, were you able to ascertain through video evidence the clothing that the defendant wore on July 19th, 2023?
Yes.
And what was he wearing that particular day?
Black shirt, white shorts.
And in this particular situation, is there an individual in a black shirt and white shorts?
Yes.
And you've been able to speak with witnesses in this particular case, including Miguel Blanco, who was able to identify individuals in said videos.
Yes.
And based on your conversations with Miguel Blanco, you were able to ascertain that the individual in this photograph is the same exact person you just described, Christopher Davis, wearing a black shirt and white shorts.
Yes.
And we know that Christopher Davis left Cruisers with an individual,
Yes.
and that individual being Barry, as he's the one that signed and paid for the drinks.
Yes.
So Barry logically would be the only other person that would be in this video, correct?
Correct.
Your Honor, at this time, if I could re-ask my question.
Okay.
So, this in fact is Christopher wearing the black shirt and Barry wearing the blue shirt?
Yes.
Same objection as to identification without personal knowledge.
Your Honor, I believe the state has been able to lay the foundation.
And I'll overrule at this point that
Mr. Gardner, if you could please push play. So we still have them coming off screen, correct? And if we could publish State's Exhibit 7 at this point?
all right.
Mr. Garner, if you could pause it for a moment. And with regards to State's Exhibit 7, this is the video from what establishment?
Menarcas.
Okay, and with this particular video, where should the jury be looking?
Up on the, close to the road, on the other side of the white truck with the guardrail.
Okay, so they
Yep.
should start looking at the guardrail over here?
Yes.
You can push play, please. You could pause it, please, Mr. Garner. And for the record, we paused the video at 19:42:50. Are these the two people that the jury should be watching, the individual in the dark shirt with the white shorts as well as in the blue shirt?
Yes.
And that would be Christopher Davis as well as Gary Schmalbach?
Correct.
Same objection as to former detective identifying without personal knowledge.
Miguel Blanco actually identified them as being in the field.
Overruled at this point.
Continue playing. And at this time, the state would ask to publish Exhibit 8.
Okay.
And what is Exhibit 8 of, Mr. Garner?
Greco's jewelry.
Where is Stryker's jewelry in relation to
It's about a 10-minute walk.
Have you been ever able to walk that area yourself?
Yes.
And how long did it take you to get from Cruisers to Barry's condo?
Actually, I did not walk Cruisers to, I walked from Greco's to the residence.
And it took you 10 minutes to walk from Greg?
About that, yes.
And you knew Barry was working out?
Yes.
You could pause it for a moment. We see two individuals believed to believe the defendant as well as Barry?
Yes.
We can continue by, for the record, that was an 1829. You can pause it. Now, the timestamp at the top corner says 7/19/2023, 8/29/28. What does that mean?
It's July 19th, 2023, 8:29 p.m., 28 seconds.
Do you have any videos of Barry after this time?
No, I do not.
So that was the last known video of Barry Schmalbach?
Yes.
And what was the next step in your investigation?
Just talking to neighbors, going through cell phones, subpoenas, that kind of
You spoke
stuff.
to an individual by the name of Miguel Blanco,
Yes,
and you were made aware that a voicemail was left for Mr. Blanco based on Barry's phone records. Is that accurate?
that is correct.
And the phone records you actually received a copy of, both for Barry's as well as Christopher's.
Yes.
And how does one go about getting a copy of someone's phone records?
Subpoena.
And you did that for both Barry's phone as Christopher's phone?
Yes.
Your Honor, may the record reflect I am now showing opposing counsel what's been previously marked for identification purposes, the state's proposed exhibit 55, as well as 56.
Okay.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness.
You may.
Detective Bearman, I am now showing you what's been marked as identification purposes, the state's proposed exhibits 55 and 56. With relation to state's exhibit 55, for identification purposes, do you recognize what that document is?
Based on the phone, this is Barry Schmalbach's phone number.
And that is going to be a contemplation of his phone records for the 19th until what date?
This goes up until July 26.
And state's proposed exhibit 56, for identification purposes, what is that particular document?
This is for Christopher Davis.
And with regards to that documentation, does it also start on the 19th and go into a certain date?
July 25th.
And these are the records that you were able to review during the course of your investigation to
Yes.
be able to come up with a timeline.
Yes.
Your Honor, this time the state would move it evidence states exhibit 55 and 56.
Any objections? No. Be admitted.
Now, Detective Bearman, with regards to state exhibit 55, when you subpoena someone's records, what information do you get?
you get incoming, outgoing calls, text messages, not the actual content, but the messages going back and forth, data that they have been used and what times and stuff they were on.
Do you also get subscriber information?
Yes,
And were you able to determine who the subscriber of this particular phone number is?
Barry Schmalbach.
And same question with State's Exhibit 56. Do you recognize this phone number?
Yes,
And were you able to ascertain the subscriber information for that phone number?
yes.
And who does that phone number belong to?
Christopher Davis.
And Your Honor, may I reapproach the witness?
You may.
For identification purposes, would you please indicate who the victim is? If that's the victim's telephone number with regards to the State Exhibit 55?
Yes.
By marking a V on the front page? And with regards to State's 56, can you please write if you identify that information by marking it with defendant? So for a D. Thank you. Now, with regards to State's Exhibit 55, were you able to ascertain the last time he, in fact, was heard from that day? Whether it be a text message or a voicemail. And I can provide you with records again if you'd like.
I want to say I'd have to double check again, but I want to say the last data for the phone was sometime around 9:20-ish on the phone. And the last time it actually pinged was somewhere around, I want to say 8:30-ish. I gotta double check that, but 8:40, somewhere in there.
Your Honor, may I approach briefly
Yes.
with State's Exhibit 55? I'm now showing you page 1 of the mobility.
Mm-hmm.
Does that refresh your recollection as to the time that the last phone call out from that phone went?
Yes.
And that phone was to a Miguel Blanco?
I'd have to double check, but it was to 239-703-6412.
And there was also a text message that was sent about 8:30, and that was the last text message that is known to have been Barry.
Yes.
There was no data usage after 9:32. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Did you have an opportunity to speak to any neighbors after that point?
Yes.
And were any of the neighbors able to tell you if they saw or heard Barry and Chris after 8:30 that night?
Yes.
And that would be Kim Zanzatani?
Correct.
Based on speaking to Kim, what did you do next?
Well, going through phone records and stuff, we were able to ascertain that there were searches done on the defendant's phone.
And where did you go based on those searches?
Walmart.
And what, if anything, happened when you went to Walmart that night?
I was able to get video, surveillance video.
And what Walmart did you go to?
1619 Del Prado Boulevard, South Cape Coral, Florida, in Lee County.
Your Honor, may the record reflect I'm now showing opposing counsel what's been marked for identification purposes. It states proposed exhibits 10, 10A, 10B, 11, 11A, and 12.
All right.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
May the record reflect that I'm now showing the witness what has been marked for identification purposes as 10, 10A, 10B, as well as 11, 11A, and 12. Detective Bearman, starting with states 10A, 10, and 10B. Do you recognize these three items?
Yes.
And what are those items of? Or what are they pictures of?
A male walking into Walmart, a male making a purchase at Walmart, and a wallet.
And with regards to states 11 and 11A, do you recognize those two?
Yes.
And how do you recognize those two?
This is a video of the front entrance for Walmart and for the register that was purchased.
And do you recognize state's proposed exhibit 12 for identification purposes?
Yes.
And what is that a document of?
It is a copy of the receipt.
Your Honor, at this time the state would move into evidence 10, 10A, 10B, 11A, 11, and 12.
Any objections?
See it for another second,
Okay.
the certification. Okay. No objection.
All right. They'll be admitted.
Yes.
Now, you said one video is the front entrance of Walmart. Are there different video cameras at Walmart?
There are, yes, lots of video cameras at Walmart.
So could you laughably say Big Brother's always watching?
Yes.
And with regards to the outside camera of Walmart, can you describe for the jury what that captures?
Captures the parking lot. There's probably, I'd have to double check the count, but there's several cameras out there. Covers the entire parking lot.
And you said there was a camera inside as well. I know we laughed and said there's multiple cameras.
There's, yeah, lots.
So always be careful when you're in
Yes,
Walmart.
absolutely.
And would you say that you were able to obtain a camera of him actually checking out?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state permission to publish state's exhibit 10.
Okay.
Would you be able to dim the lights? With regards to state's exhibit 10, what is that?
That's
Object to identifying the defendant possibly, unless he has personal knowledge.
I'm asking what it is, not who it is, Your Honor.
You can answer that question.
it's a male walking into the Walmart.
And is that outfit consistent with the outfit that we saw in state's exhibits 6, 7, and 8, a black shirt and white shorts?
That is correct.
And were you also able to get another snap of 10A?
Yes.
And is that the same individual that's in 10?
Yes.
And what is that person doing?
He is checking out. That is a self-checkout at Walmart.
Are you able to tell what he's currently holding in that picture?
Yes.
And what is that?
That is I believe a 12 by 24 tarp.
And do you know of anything else that's currently in the cart that you can see at this point or being rung up?
I can't make it's a little fuzzy in that photo. I can't make it out, but I did watch the video and I got the receipt. I know.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got a receipt though, right?
Yes. Oh yeah. No, I know what it is. Yes.
Okay. Do you recognize this? And we're going to zoom in because I can't see that. Oh, we got it.
Yes. The first two were
What are the first two items?
duct tape.
And
Individual
the
rolls.
third item?
That's the tarp.
What is the description of the tarp?
It's a HD 12 by 24 tarp.
Are you aware of what HD means?
It's either heavy duty or the name of the brand there at Walmart.
And 12 by 24, that's 12 foot by 24 foot,
Correct.
as well as the last item?
That is Not Coca-Cola. It's Coca-Cola brand. It's chocolate milk. It's the Fairlife chocolate milk.
And do you know how this this receipt was paid for?
Cash.
And is this the wallet the cash came out of?
It was the wallet that was on there. I don't remember if the cash came out of that or not, but that was the wallet that was on the screen at the
And
register.
With regard to this wallet, it doesn't look like it's very full. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
Right, you're able to see just a handful of different cards.
Yes.
Your Honor, permission to publish states 11.
All right.
And permission to publish states 11A.
Okay.
Your Honor, permission to move freely about the courtroom.
I'm sorry?
May I move freely about the courtroom?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, Detective, we're looking at an overview. What is this an overview of?
That is register 44 at Walmart, self-checkout.
And I know that on the last video as well as this video, there are timestamps. Are the timestamps accurate on the two Walmart videos?
As far as I know, yes.
And with regards to this, Mr. Gardner, would you please push play? You could pause this for a moment, Mr. Gardner. What are these two items that are being held by the individual in the black shirt and white shorts?
That is duct tape.
And we see a phone, something black underneath it. Do you know what that black object is?
I believe that's the wallet.
And the keys, are you aware of what those keys go to?
Vehicle.
And you actually ended up finding those keys and collecting them during a search warrant on the 24th. Is that accurate?
Correct.
And those keys go to what type of vehicle?
A Jeep.
And that Jeep is owned by Barry?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner, if you can continue pushing play. You could pause it again. What is this item?
Tarp.
And that's the 12 by 24 foot tarp?
Correct.
For the record, that is at 35 seconds. You will push play again. If you pause it one more time. And what he just scanned was a.
That was the,
bottle?
no, that was actually, it's a Coca-Cola product. It's Fairlife chocolate milk.
Okay, and what is Fairlife chocolate milk?
It's branded chocolate milk that's put out by Coca-Cola.
On
That I do not know.
Do you end up seeing it again though at a later time?
I believe so, yes.
And that time is when you do a search warrant of the defendant's phone?
Correct.
And the defendant's phone matches that particular cell phone case?
Yes.
Exactly?
Yes.
And for the record, that was stopped at 47 seconds, if you could continue pushing play. And that was the wallet that we took a picture of as well, correct?
Correct.
And what is this item of? It seems to just be sitting there.
That's keys.
The Jeep keys?
Yes.
And that was somebody grabbing the keys?
Yes.
Does it match the same description as the person that was just checking out as well?
Yes.
One of the identifying marks would be the fact that the toenails are painted in both of those images, correct?
That is correct.
With regards to the Jeep, were you able to ascertain how the person was able to get inside of Walmart or drive to Walmart?
In the Jeep.
The Jeep? And that was Barry's Jeep, correct?
Yes.
And Your Honor, for the record, Miguel Blanco did identify the defendant with regards to being in State's Exhibits 10 and 11. And for the record, State's Exhibit 11A, I believe. And for the record, that is a picture of a stop image, and my eyesight is not that good anymore. At 319, and what do you know about the foot?
The toenails are painted.
Okay, and it's the exact same painted toenails as well as footwear as the previous individual who's checking out with the tarp?
Correct.
And is anywhere in this video Mr. Schmalbach?
No.
Are you able to see Mr. Schmalbach at all getting in or out of a Jeep?
No.
And Your Honor, permission to republish State's Exhibit 12?
All right.
You pretty good with military time, Detective?
Yes, I'm familiar.
So if I told you 21, what would that mean?
9.
9? So on State's Exhibit 12, bottom, it says survey offered, TC number, a date, as well as a timestamp. What does that date and timestamp represent?
July 19th, 2023 at 9:57 p.m., 45 seconds.
So that's after the last time Barry was seen.
Correct.
What happened after the defendant went to Walmart?
He left the parking lot.
And were you able to ascertain anything with regards to his phone records at that point?
Yes.
And I believe I left State's Exhibit 56 up there with you. May I approach and retrieve, Your Honor?
You may.
55.
55, I apologize. And 55 for the record is Barry's number 56. Yep.
Do you want the lights back
Would be the
on?
defendant's number, I apologize.
Would you like the lights back on?
Oh, yes, please, I apologize, thank you. Now, these particular phone records, what time zone are they in?
They are actually UTC.
And what does UTC mean?
UTC is it's a universal time. It's basically whatever it says on those records, it's 4 hours behind Eastern time. So if it's midnight, it would be 8 p.m. our time. If it's midnight on the records, it would be 8 p.m. on our time.
So, for example, on page 1 of the mobility page of State's Exhibit 56, which is the defendant's cell phone number,
Correct.
we see at 7/19, 2023 at 2013. So what time is 2013 in Eastern Standard Time?
That would go back to 20, see, give me, that's 8, so 4 p.m., 4:13.
And then we see some additional calls, it looks like, and that would be lines 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13.
Correct.
So 2:19, what time does that convert to?
That would be 10:19 p.m.
Okay, and that would actually change from the 20th
to the 19th, correct.
And these are the defendant's records showing the phone number out, which you've identified previously as the defendant's number.
Correct.
Which is 239-851-9567. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And it has it calling this 708 number. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Now there's another number too. What's that other number?
That is actually the number for Barry's iWatch.
Okay. And what do lines 9 through 13 mean?
Basically, there's an incoming call, the watch is picking it up, and then it's transferring it to the phone.
So for those who don't understand the iWatch, because I don't own an iWatch.
Me neither, but
explain that to me?
it's, if the phone's not available, you can answer the phone on your iWatch if it's close or if that's on, and pick it up that way.
Okay, so they basically work off each other.
Correct.
Do we know if the iWatch or the phone picked up that call?
Go back. You'd have to go all the way to the end.
So we have a bunch of jargon that I have no idea what it means. So if you could walk me through.
Yeah, at the end of it where it says CFNR.
Right here?
Yes.
Okay, so NIOP, what does that mean?
You don't object to it unless it's personal knowledge.
Your Honor, they're already in the records. Part of the record does include an abbreviation where it does spell out exactly what each thing is.
In that document? All right, overruled.
Okay, with regards to NIOP, what does that mean?
I'd have to see the glossary.
And the glossary is actually attached, is that accurate?
Yes, it's on the front.
Okay. NIOP, correct?
Calling number, identity, presentation, correct.
What does that mean?
It's just that there's caller ID, I believe, is coming up.
So, and then we have, I CFNR. What does that mean?
Call forward, not, I know A is for not available, and R is, there we go.
Okay, so we go back to the cheat
Yep.
sheet.
Not reachable.
Okay. So call forward, not reachable, and then we see a VM.
Voicemail.
So what does that mean?
It means that neither one is picking up, so it's basically going to voicemail.
So Barry's watching it pick up and neither did his phone.
Correct.
Your Honor, may I have a moment with my co-counsel?
You may.
No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Okay.
So I don't know if you noticed on the 11A when we were looking at the Walmart videos and the name of it had a November date. November 13, 2023.
Couldn't you show me what you're talking about? I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know if I can put, have 11A. Open up and then pause. Kind of in front of the top left is
Correct.
what the video's titled. Is that something you labeled it, or?
No, that would have come from Walmart. That's the day we were taking the video.
Would you have gotten the video on November 13th?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so that would have been a couple months later.
Correct.
4 or 5 months later. All right. And at that time, besides photos, well, let's write that. In the earlier videos, we saw various businesses along Del Prado. And that was just to, because you had learned the individuals had walked from cruisers to the condo.
Correct.
And so you were trying to see if the video would capture them, and it captured two males walking.
Correct.
Then additionally, you obtained the Amex records. That was just to follow up and see the charge made at cruisers?
Correct.
Okay. And it had multiple charges. Did it appear it was charged initially and then charged later for one amount, and then later they might have added a tip? And
That could have been, yes.
then after these dates, you did a lot of follow-up work after this date, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that wasn't all your involvement, but you may later testify to something?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Briefly, Your Honor.
Okay.
Opposing counsel asked you about that time in the top left corner.
Yes.
Is that the date that the video was collected or the date that it's actually showing the recording of?
That would have been the date that it was collected.
And that's because the video came from corporate, is that accurate?
Well, it came from the store itself.
So the actual video that we're witnessing and watched, though, what is the date that we see that individual?
July 19th, 2023.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you.
Your Honor, we asked to retain
Okay.
and not release. We will be calling him back.
All right. Sir, you may step down. I think that'll do it for today. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, the jury is 10 minutes after 5, so it's been a long day for you, I know. You will be released to go home and come back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Remember my earlier instructions. Don't do any research, look up anything, discuss anything about your service as a juror on the case. Also, there's been a camera in here, so there may be some news coverage here locally. I would ask that you not watch any local news during the pendency of the trial, just so you don't see anything you're not supposed to see or hear anything you're not supposed to hear. So you can watch other kinds of TV, get on Netflix or whatever streaming service you have, but just don't watch local news while you're sitting as a juror on this case. Does everybody understand that? All right. And we'll have you go with the bailiff. He'll escort you out and tell you where to come back in the morning. A couple other housekeeping things. There are snacks and coffee that we put in there for you. And so if you want to bring other food or other drinks or anything like that, there's a refrigerator back there. You're welcome to do that. And I don't mind if you want to bring, there's cups, there should be cups in there with lids on them. So if you want to bring something in here with you, like coffee or something like that, you may do that as well. And one other housekeeping matter, if you run into any of the parties in the hallways or anywhere else outside of court during the day as we proceed, everybody in here is very polite. Under normal circumstances, you might say good morning or good afternoon, and they would respond in kind. They won't, because I've ordered them not to have any communication with jurors. So if they avert their eyes and they don't say anything, it's not because they're being rude, they're just following the court's orders, all right? I believe that's all the housekeeping matters I need to take care of. Anything else? We'll see. Yes, sir? Parking? I'll let the bailiff help you with that, all right? Then we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Thank you. You just leave your notepads here. We'll collect those and I'll hand them out tomorrow morning. And it does get cold in here, so I would recommend bringing layers. All right, let the record reflect the jury's exited the courtroom. Anything the court needs to address prior to tomorrow morning?
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.
Thank you.